This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It is Friday, the real Friday, December 6th, and today's pod is the best one yet. This is a T-Boy.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
All right, so I'm recording from home today because we got a tsunami warning in San Francisco.
I know. Nick called me yesterday and he said, Jack, a 7.0 earthquake happened off the coast of California.
I had to head to higher ground. I'm recording from a podcast studio at like 900 feet above sea level right now.
I'll be honest, I was very worried.
I really appreciated how worried you were, Jack. Thanks so much.
I texted Nick right away when I saw that the tsunami warning got canceled.
But in the meantime, Yetis, the pod must go on, and we have got 3 fantastic stories before the weekend. Jack, what's on today's T-Boy?
For our first story, Ben the Bitcoin just hit $100,000 for the first time ever.
So Jack and I are looking at the one company that owns more Bitcoin than any other, Microstrategy.
For our second story, it's Uber's newest product.
What is it, Jack?
UberCarolling. Uber will now deliver a Christmas tree and Christmas carolers to your door.
But why is Uber really spreading Christmas cheer for all to hear? It's because of Waymo.
And our third and final story. A new survey says that the top restaurant men will take their first date to is Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, but the wildest part? Women love Chick-fil-A as a first date, but on one big financial condition.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories.
No one is doing this mix. I mean, this is an unprecedented. I love this mix, Jack. Great mix.
Guinness.
The
dark, creamy beer that tastes like a confused cold coffee.
Guinness. You don't drink the Guinness drinks you.
We've all got one buddy who's like training for a marathon and the only thing he'll drink is half a Guinness.
I can only drink Guinness. It's half the calories of my life.
Well, here's the news. Guinness is cutting off pubs in the United Kingdom.
Apparently they have reached their Guinness limit.
Because too many Brits are drinking too much Guinness right now.
Besties, Guinness is limiting its supply on their home island during the holidays in order to make sure there's enough Guinness for the rest of us.
So here's the question. Why is Guinness suddenly so popular in the UK?
Well, get this, Jack. The latest trend among Gen Z is taking pics with a pint of Guinness.
They're called Guinfluencers.
Guinfluencers, real term.
And the goal when you drink as a Guinfluencer is to split the G, which is to drink just enough Guinness, like 2 gulps or so from your pint.
So that the beer line splits the G when you put the pint down.
Because it's not just Liam and leprechauns who are drinking Guinness these days.
No, this is wild, but sales to women of Guinness are up 24% this year.
Kim Kardashian, Olivia Rodrigo, the Princess of Wales, they've all recently posted pics sipping the brown stuff.
So Diageo, the owner of Guinness, is reportedly limiting sales in the United Kingdom, where Ginsanity is particularly strong.
Nick, we may have to add Guinness to the Hoarder's Almanac.
Jack, we may have to add Guinfluencers to our word of the year.
How about Ginsanity? That's the Ginning choice.
Guinfluencers. Now you know, and if you know, you know. Jack, let's hear our 3 stories.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story. For the first time, Bitcoin just reached $100,000.
So we have to tell you about Bitcoin's biggest lover by far, Microstrategy.
But first, Jack, mazel tov to Ben the Bitcoin. Ben just had another bit mitzvah. Not too shabby. We're going to get him a gift.
After 15 years, Bitcoin has reached the 6-digit price of $100,000.
It's a nice round number. The rally for Bitcoin is so far up 45% since Election Day.
And it's up 136% since the beginning of the year.
But Jack, the key reason that tipped the cryptocurrency into the 6-digit club yesterday, what was it, man?
It was probably Trump's pick earlier in the week of a crypto-friendly dude to lead the SEC.
And for that reason, stock and crypto trading apps like Coinbase and Robinhood, they have now doubled and tripled so far this year.
But the one stock that's most married to crypto prices...
Who is it, Jack?
Microstrategy.
Microstrategy. And yet, is the way Jack and I see it, Microstrategy is Bitcoin's biggest lover.
First of all, Microstrategy is way older than Bitcoin. It was founded in 1989. It's a publicly traded company, And for most of its history, it was a software company.
But then in 2020, MicroStrategy, it kind of became a cougar. It decided to convert all the company's cash into Bitcoin.
The reason? Their cash was generating zero interest. And the CEO was worried that the US dollar that they were holding their cash in could lose value if inflation came.
So he converted it to Bitcoin. And since then, MicroStrategy has gone from crypto curious to like a full-on crypto kisser.
MicroStrategy has completely transformed from a software company that they were for 30 years to a company that simply buys and holds tons and tons of Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah. MicroStrategy is deep in bed with Bitcoin. Get this, Yetis. MicroStrategy has bought and now holds around $38 billion of Bitcoin. Jack, could you sprinkle on a little context to that number, please?
This random publicly traded software company actually holds 2% of all the Bitcoin in the world.
We repeat, 1 out of every 50 Bitcoin on planet Earth is owned by MicroStrategy.
But that's not even the wildest part.
No, it's not.
This company plans to sell $11 billion worth of stock in itself and then take out $21 billion in debt in order to buy more Bitcoin.
They're raising more money to buy more of the Bitcoin in the world.
Now, the CEO of this 35-year-old tech company says that MicroStrategy is becoming a Bitcoin treasury.
But it's also the same strategy as your Bitcoin buddy who mortgaged his house in order to buy more Bitcoin.
So MicroStrategy's microstrategy
Yeah, I see where
is
you're going.
to sell software to their clients.
But Jack, MicroStrategy's macro strategy is to be a publicly traded proxy for Bitcoin.
But back to Bitcoin's rise to $100,000.
Good point, Jack. It just hit 100K. That is a nice round number right there.
We can explain that rise from one quote from earlier in the week.
And that quote is our takeaway. So Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over in crypto?
Bitcoin doesn't compete with the US dollar. It competes with gold.
Yetis, those are the words of Jerome Jerry Powell, who spoke at the DealBook conference on Wednesday of this week.
Our Federal Reserve Chairman clarified that Bitcoin is not really a currency, even though it's called a cryptocurrency. It's really more like a commodity.
Here's how he's thinking about it. Just like gold, Bitcoin is a popular alternative asset for investors to park their money in.
And also, just like gold, Bitcoin is scarce. There's only so much gold in the world, and there's only so many Bitcoin in the world.
And also, just like gold, investors have decided that Bitcoin is valuable. Very valuable, it turns out. $100,000 valuable.
Now, we should point out, he is biased. Our Fed chairman's job is to protect the strength of the US dollar.
But it was validating for Bitcoin to be put on the same pedestal as gold in the words of our top central banker.
Bitcoin, it doesn't compete with the US dollar. It competes with gold.
And that's why it just hit 100K. For our second story, Uber just launched an entire suite of holiday services. This year, you can Uber Christmas carolers to someone's door.
But this isn't about Christmas cheer. This is about Uber's greatest threat.
Yes, it is. Now, Yetis, Jack and I have been covering Uber in the markets for a while, and over the years, Uber has tested out a lot of new Uber options you weren't aware of, Jack. How would you describe them?
Uber.
Yeah, they're Uber, these options.
In Bangkok, for example, you can book an Uber Moto.
You can jump on the back of a motorcycle because the city is so crowded. Uber Moto.
Your Uber driver is the guy whose arms you're wrapping around right now.
You're going to get to know each other. You're going to give them 5 stars.
In Ibiza, you can book an Uber yacht.
Yeah, you and 7 other people can sail around the island for 1,600 euros a minute. I mean, hour.
I think it's the day, actually.
It may be minute over in Ibiza.
In Australia, you can hail a scuba.
Scuba, like a scuba Uber. This is a submarine experience, so you can sail through the Great Barrier Reef in an Uber sub.
A self-contained underwater Uber apparatus.
Now, Yetis, Uber stock, it has tripled in the last 2 years.
Probably not because of the scuba.
No.
But still, it's now worth $140 billion, which is 20 lifts.
So the way we see it, Uber, it's got some mojo right now. So Uber, they can able. They can always be launching new things. And Jack, what is the latest launch from Uber?
Christmas carols.
Christmas carols, besties.
Uber just launched a suite of holiday services that they even got Macaulay Culkin on board to promote.
It's like your driver, Kevin, is arriving in 4 minutes in a Honda Civic.
Kevin!
Would you like to give Kevin 5 stars? But Yetis, here's what Jack and I found fascinating about this story. Uber basically realized that they weren't getting a piece of all of the holiday shopping season. All the money you're spending right now, it's going to retailers. It isn't going to Uber.
So they just launched nationwide Christmas tree delivery to get in on that Christmas cheer.
Yeah, they want in on that holiday spending. So now you can get a Douglas fir on top of a Prius arriving on your door because you ordered it via Uber.
Seriously, from Boston to Santa Barbara, you can now get your tree delivered. So you don't herniate a disc cutting it down and putting it onto your Rivian yourself.
Sounds like your back hurts, Jack.
I told you I got 2 trees, Nick.
Lift with your legs, now with your back. Uber is also expanding Uber Courier, which is for last-minute tasks that you just really don't want to do, so the driver will do them for you.
You can tell Uber to pick up the eggnog that you left by accident at Aunt Edna's house.
You already had a convo with Aunt Edna, and you can't have more conversation with her. It's a long convo.
The wildest launch, though, is Uber Christmas Carol through Uber Eats.
That's right. Uber Christmas carols. Like Yetis, let's say you couldn't get a physical gift for your buddy Timmy in time. What are you going to do, Jack?
You can send him the sweet sound of Silent Night
through 4 carolers who arrive in an Uber.
It's a partnership with Diageo, so you actually have to order alcohol too. Like you have to have a bottle of peppermint schnapps show up with the carolers.
Along with the 4 carolers. But either way, Yetis, this holiday season, it means holy spending. And Uber has finally found a way for a logistics company to get in on that retail spending.
But there's actually an existential reason that Uber's doing this.
And that reason
kind of represents the Grinch.
Is our takeaway for all to hear. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Uber?
The antidote to automation is a human touch.
Human touch. Yetis, for the last decade, the greatest threat to Uber was Lyft.
But for the next decade, the greatest threat to Uber is robo-taxis.
Waymo, Cruise, Tesla Cybercab, all of those are new Uber competitors who just didn't even exist 5 years ago.
In fact, Waymo announced yesterday that they're expanding their RoboCab service to Miami.
Good point. It was a new update yesterday,
which caused Uber's stock to fall by 8%. It's a serious threat.
But here's how we see it, besties. Uber has always seen the human drivers as the expensive part of their business model.
But now Uber's realizing that those human drivers are their advantage against the real competition.
And here's why. Only with a human driver can Uber deliver carolers and Christmas trees and Aunt Edna's eggnog right off her porch.
Those human-powered perks are advantages that Waymo can't offer right now.
And that is the power of this Uber Christmas caroling. Uber, they just realized that the antidote to AI is human touch. Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story to send you into the weekend, Chick-fil-A. It is now the top destination for men to take a first date to.
And that reveals one of the top things women look for in a relationship.
But Jack, in order to properly set the scene for this story, Friday night, it's date night, we're all going out, but you have a tradition for date night that you got to share with the Yetis.
It's more a challenge, actually. Alex and I, we go to Electra's on Friday night, and our goal was to eat everything on the menu by the end of the year.
Even if they change things, you're like, you got to bring that back. Bring back the squash. We got to have more of that. We didn't try it yet.
We're not on pace to do it because a lot of babysitters fell through.
It gives you a goal for every date, which is kind of the goal of the date. But in 31 American states, the first date night happens at Chick-fil-A.
Here's the news, Yetis. Dating News surveyed 3,000 singles across the country and asked the men, what is the top restaurant that you like to take women to on a first date?
Now, in Maine and Vermont, the top answer was Subway. But overwhelmingly, in 31 American states, the answer for the number one first date destination was Chick-fil-A.
What do you do for work?
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
Interesting.
Do you want waffle fries or regular fries?
Tell me more about your ketchup preferences. I feel like we're on the same vibe right now.
Now, there was more data here. Overall, 54% of men said that a fast food restaurant was just fine for a first date.
Okay, but even more interesting, the rate was 66% for women.
66% of women think a fast food restaurant is fine for a first date.
He didn't go to Jared's, he went to Wendy's.
And that was a turn on.
It's hot, baby.
Now, Yetis, Romeo would have taken Juliet to a fine sit-down French or Italian restaurant.
But right now, Pookie is cool with hanging out at the Waffle House as she gets to know her guy on the first time.
Because in this economy, Chick-fil-A can be a sign of financial responsibility.
That's right, Jack. Besties, the reason 2 out of 3 women in this survey were fine with fast food for a first date?
It was the money.
It was money, yeah.
Women are much more likely to say yay to Chick-fil-A if the man asking them is honest that they're going there because of their budget.
Now, I'm sure she would prefer a nice filet mignon or maybe a sushi dinner out instead of the Chick-fil-A sandwich.
But more important than the cuisine is the guy's financial character.
Yes, it is. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies who are everyone going out on date night?
It's not the size of the budget that matters. It's how honest you are about it.
Now, Yetis, the number one issue in American breakups, it's money. The number one cause of divorce in America, it's money.
But just as painful is financial infidelity. Not being honest with your partner about your money situation.
Misleading, hiding, creating false expectations, all of that, it's a form of monetary cheating.
That's why we find this Chick-fil-A data so powerful.
It is powerful, Jack, you're right. Because it's not about what you can afford, it's about honesty on what you can afford.
The budget number wasn't the issue. It was honesty about the budget.
So, besties, it's not the size of the budget that matters. It's how honest we are about it. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for the real Friday?
Bitcoin hit $100,000 for the first time. And as Bitcoin booms, Microstrategy booms even more.
And our Fed chairman said for the first time that Bitcoin is like digital gold.
Our second story was Uber. They just launched a bunch of holiday-specific services to differentiate from robo-taxis.
Because the antidote to automation is human touch.
And our third and final story. According to a survey, Chick-fil-A is the top fast food restaurant for first dates. And women, they're totally fine with it.
Yeah, it's not the size of our budgets that matters, it's how honest we are about them.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, yesterday we told you about the cold-blooded murder of the United Healthcare CEO.
Well, here's an update. He didn't have a bodyguard. And police have shared 2 pictures of the likely killer, who is still at large as of this recording.
Also, interestingly, they found 3 words written on the bullet cases that the killer used: deny, defend, and depose.
Those could be a reference to the health insurance industry's habits of denying coverage to bolster their profits.
Either way, this could lead to a lot of conversation on America's healthcare system, which is the most expensive in the world.
Second, Kim Kardashian's Skims is expanding from the sun to the snow.
Yes, they are.
Skims partnered with the North Face to launch a line of women's ski gear.
They're getting into ski wear. Skims. They started with shapewear onesies. Now they're doing downhill onesies.
Valued at over $4 billion, Skims is considered a candidate for an IPO in 2025.
And finally, Taylor Swift's Eras Tour book was, unshockingly, a chart topper, but we just got the numbers.
It dropped on Black Friday, and it was only available at Target.
Only sold at Target, interestingly.
And over 800,000 copies of that concert tour book were sold in the first 2 days.
Second most ever for nonfiction, right behind Barack Obama's most recent memoir.
Although many are pointing out typos and grammatical mistakes in that book.
Yeah, the Eras Tour. This is the Eras Tour. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Tyler Marwood down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Push and play.
Here we go.
Hey besties, yesterday Nick and Jack gave a shout out to the Wicked Green 9BCA47, but did you know that code isn't random? It's part of the hexadecimal system where 9B is red, CA is green, and 47 is blue. Mix them all together and voila, Wicked Witch Green. The extraordinary part? Hex codes can create over 16 million colors, packing the whole rainbow into 6 little digits.
We see what you did there, Tyler, by the way.
I feel like I'm back in kindergarten.
I know.
Mixing my 3 primary colors.
Well, we should share our hexagonal colors for Slammin Salmon, because we have our own special hexagonal.
You don't remember what it is off the top of your head, do you?
It's hashtag FB4C8E. That is the special Slammin Salmon color pink we use.
We'll drop it in the episode description.
Yetis, you've looked fantastic all week. Jack, so many wins to celebrate. Thank you to everyone who dropped a rap. That was unreal. We actually got a special gift for you at the end of the pod if you gave us a rap.
We were in the top 5 of 50,000 Spotify users.
Not too shabby, Jack. And besties, before you go, we have the perfect thing for you to listen to take you into the weekend, and that's our new weekly show.
The best idea yet. This week, it's the Polaroid camera. This was a tech company before the tech industry even existed.
Oh, the Polaroid camera was such an innovative product that Steve Jobs said it was his inspiration. It is a wild story, and we cover that on the best idea yet. So head over there right now. You're going to love this weekly show.
We dropped a link in the show notes.
In the meantime, celebrate the wins. HYHTBOY, and Jack and I will see you Monday. And before we go, a happy birthday to Bowen Way, eating chocolate for his birthday in California.
Happy birthday to Ms. Kat Stringham, who's turning 30 in Scottsdale with some tiramisu.
And Jack, you'll love this. Sarah is celebrating a New York birthday in Chicago, doing logistics with an Eli Manning themed party.
Eli Manning. He really was elite.
And Aryash is turning 9 years old in Andover, Massachusetts. Get this. Aryash, the legendary birthday boy, has listened to every episode of The Best Idea Yet every week.
This kid is the best one yet.
Thank you, Aryash. And Ashley and Jordan just got engaged on Black Friday in New York City. Let's see some ring pics, guys. What a holiday.
And a quick shout out to a handful of the 19,000 of you who had us as #1 podcast of the year on Spotify.
Oh, you ready for this, Jack? Thank you, Chris Shaw, Mary Montiel, Marley Morena, Rachel Ralph, Ralph Gustav, Pilly Kushner, Ember Lieb, Danica, Dak Shepard, allegedly, Daniel Cohen, Caitlin Crosdale, Gillian Henderson.
Victoria Chang, Daniel Stokes, Lost in Travel, Lindsay McMahon, Mike Gillard, Ali Uraib, Ralph Gustav,
Billy Kushner, Emberly, Leo, Sherry Morris, Amanda Whitnam, Baron Tuiz, and Brendan Hall.
Wow, you are way better than me at whipping off names quickly.
I mean, you whip up the takeaways, I whip up the shout.
And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a T-boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. Nick and I both own a Bitcoin, and we both own stock in Robinhood. Come on! I made my family disappear.
No, you're supposed to arrive 3 minutes ago in an Acura.